Welcome to Finding the Frame. I'm your host, Chris Haigh, and joining me at FAHQ today, I've got the Grammy-nominated VMA-winning producer, Jamee Ranta, and writer and director, Wesley Armstrong, and editor, Alain Fleury. Let's get into it.
What do you think the best decade of filmmaking is? In terms.
You know what? For me, I think like the best decade of filmmaking is like the late '90s, early 2000s.
I'd go like for sure 90s.
90s.
Why?
Yeah.
I feel like that's when filmmakers actually got it. Just like
Yeah.
we were just like we get it. The texture felt right. The storylines, the action. Those things were practical. The tool was just sharpened.
Yeah.
I felt like that was it.
What's changed about it now then? What's made it so it's not as good now as it was then? Because we're talking
I
30 years later.
Yeah, well, but I feel like now you have like a thing where filmmaking is so accessible, right, to everyone, right? And I feel like that's in a way, not all the time, but like in a way, it has diminished the magic of the filmmaking, because like everybody could grab their iPhone and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make a movie or I'm gonna do this, but they're forgetting about the craft. They're forgetting about like the storytelling. They're just pointing the camera, shooting one shot, reverse, one shot, reverse, one shot, reverse, but they're not actually telling a story through the lens.
Yes.
And I feel like we're seeing a lot more of those films being made, and I feel like that's the difference between then and now.
Yeah.
It's like back then when they decided to make a film, every single thing was thought out, because also they're shooting on film most of the time, right?
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of room for like, let's just let the camera roll and then let's see what happens, or like we rehearse, and until we know exactly where everybody should land, and then that's when they roll the cameras. So
I want to piggyback on the business side of things.
Yeah.
Matt Damon, I saw an interview with Matt Damon, and he was like, why do you think films in the 90s were so much better? Because they said the same thing. And it's like, on the business side of things, nowadays, every company is risk averse. Most companies are risk averse. I mean, economically, we're in tough times. Financially, we're in tough times. And then so a lot of investors and businesses just don't want to take the risk. They want the copy-paste algorithm formula that works to just run it through and make sure that they're targeting to their specific market here and there, that they're saying the right line in a way that's not going to be too offensive or this or that, and very mindful about risk-adverse films. And in storytelling, it's like it almost like it really affects the creativity and the storytelling process of it. But the reason why in the 90s people would take these risks is because you had your theatrical release, and so you get box office money, and then you'd have,
DVD.
the DVD release. So you make money off
Make
the
a second
DVD
bump.
sales.
Yeah.
And so it's like a second bump, and it's like anyone who couldn't afford to go to the movies or was too busy to go to the movies, they now have the opportunity to buy a DVD and watch it, and then they share it with their friends, and they're like, oh, you got to get your own, and it was a whole different experience where now with the streaming, services, it's like there's so much access to storytelling that and I mean during COVID it was everyone was sitting at home, they had nothing better to do than to
and that
watch
was
rolling through it. Yeah.
And that's why you had that big streaming boom during COVID, because like now everybody was just looking for like content. You know what I mean?
Do you think that, like, one of the things do you think that in terms of streaming, we have the film that comes out now and it's on streaming less than a month at some certain respects. I'm thinking like the Bike Riders that's just come out. That came out and within 3 weeks it was on Peacock. And I was like, you're not going to even get the receipts, the box office, anything like that. Whereas if you go back to the 90s, you look at something like Jurassic Park
3
or
months.
any of those things, you get 3 months in the cinema. You'd hear about it from people at the workplace or in school, and then you'd be like, I'm going to go and watch that next week,
It's about building the subscribers, getting that subscribers. The longer it's in the theater, they're not getting that subscriber coming to see Jurassic Park on whatever streaming platform that is, right? So they're trying to get it out of, because they're trying to get it out of the theater so that they can get it onto streaming faster,
Yeah.
and then build that, because everybody's all in right now on streaming, as you can see. It's not a secret. You know, you got Warner Brothers, you got Disney, you got all the studios are all in on streaming. So they have to make it work somehow. They have to, like, it has to be successful. So in order to be successful, just like the Netflix was and all that, is about like building your subscriber base and all that. So that's why, like, they need as much content as possible on those platforms.
Do you think that's why? So, like, you know, I know that Wesley, you've done lots of social media and stuff. Do you think that it's something to do with social media stars? That's one of the reasons why these streaming platforms and these studios that have streaming platforms are saying, right, we're gonna buy into this social media star because we've got a guaranteed audience with them. They've got 15 million followers. I know you've got millions of followers. Is it a case of these streaming services are saying, right, we'll give you a show or we'll give you a film so that we know that we're going to get some kind of viewing?
I think it does play into it. I mean, just like the internet in general, you know, that this was a huge disruption. You know, like, we're in an age of disposable media. You know, when I was finishing up doing music videos, we came in on the tail end of those, where the budgets were not as big. But what I noticed early on was music videos are good for a week, and then they're moving on to the next thing. I'm like, this isn't sustainable.
Yeah.
I don't even like this. I like, you know, if you don't have a hit record, it's in the wind. And so social media, you fell into this pocket of, like, gratification. And what I recently said, I said it earlier today, you have to, as a creator and filmmaker, you have to be comfortable with unsatisfaction.
Okay.
You know, you're constantly putting stuff out for a brief satisfaction and then trying to chase that thing again. And same thing with the movies and social media, you know, like, hot today, forgotten tomorrow. So, like, we're it's spread. It's spread so much. Even the movie industry is suffering from it. And I'm like, dang, just when I'm about to do my first big feature, now I'm in the same pocket of, you know, what happened when I was exiting music videos. And so I don't know what the solution is, but I know that this is the time to reinvent. You know, like, social media has taught me, just with each platform I've been on, like, how to constantly reinvent the wheel in a different way to grab attention. Like, social media, the key there is those first 3 seconds, those first 3 to 6 seconds. You got to do that same thing in movies now. Like, that first 10 minutes, you know, you got to hook them.
Yeah, actually, I was reading about it. In fact, there was somebody who talked about it. They were talking about with the Netflix model was one of the things. They said you have 3 minutes to define what the genre is of the film. Like, you have to catch that person within 3 minutes. Otherwise, they're going to go.
Yep.
So it was like, if it's a horror film, somebody's got to die in the first 3 minutes. And that becomes incredibly formulaic, doesn't it? It becomes like there's no originality. You know?
Add on to that real quick. The other thing I saw another producer talking, and they were like, when it comes to a show, if it's not second screen enough, you know, it's out the door. And I was like, what does that mean? And so she went further into it. She was like, you have to be able to repeat the plot multiple times because people are also looking at their phones to be able to follow along. And I'm like, oh my God. Like,
Just pay attention.
Like, you know, that's your competition. If your show is not second screen enough, if you're not repeating that plot and find different ways to drive it in without being too expositionally or exposition. Is it? Expositionally?
I'll go for expositional. Yeah. Sounds good. I'm English. I can say it. Put it in the dictionary.
And I was just like, dang, man, that sucks.
Yeah, it's you know, it's getting really hard on, like, especially like filmmakers and stuff, because, like, you know, I have friends that like editors and whatnot, and they their notes on certain things from the Netflix and from like other streaming platforms are like, oh no, we need to see this specific actor by minute 2.
They just be throwing shit out there.
But then you're like, well, it doesn't make sense for the story because we don't want to see this character yet before we introduce this other character. But we're paying $1 million for this guy, so we're gonna have to see him within the first 2 minutes. We got to see Brad Pitt.
Gone are the days when Jaws didn't come in for the first hour and a half of the movie or whatever it was. Gone are those days, right? Yeah.
So the notes are not now. The notes are dictated by algorithm more than they are by creativity and by filmmaking.
Isn't that terrifying? You know, I mean, like when we're thinking about this being art and this being something, you know, it's all determined by algorithms and data and all these kind of things. It's a little bit like I was saying to Brendan before, you know, if you look back at great works of art in the past, it wasn't like Van Gogh was going, I've got to paint a Starry Night, because we've had the feedback from, you know, all these people and they've said they like Starry Nights. So he's like, right, I'll paint
Back
that.
then, they didn't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck what he says.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna do this.
Do you find, Alan, that, and you're an editor, you've worked in big editorial departments, Black Panther Wakanda Forever and Transformers Rise of the Beast and things like that. Do you find it easier to be I imagine that the answer is yes, but do you find that as an editor it's easier for you when you're on your own rather than having these big editorial departments where lots of people, producers and other people like that are all getting involved? No offense to producers, by the way,
Oh,
Jamie.
no, none
But
taken.
everybody is
None
kind of
taken.
having a say and having notes, and you've kind of got to help everybody. It's kind of like a group grope, I think they call it at certain points.
You know, it's it has its pros and its cons, you know, of each aspects. Because it's like sometimes too, like as filmmakers, we'll get lost in the idea of like, oh, I'm this big artist, and you kind of you don't see beyond what's on the screen, and you need those people around you to be like, hey, this is not working. You have to cut this shot. You know, not every shot needs to be in the film. You want to serve that purpose. So when in that aspect, I always like embrace that collaborative, you know, environment. And like on an independent side, it has helped me also because I've learned from working on these big films and then working on independence, I've learned how to manage a post-production just when it's just me and the director and I know how to manage the notes and the ideas.
Got you.
You know, and how to focus on what's important, what serves the story. Like, do we really need this? I know we spent like 5 hours shooting this shot, but who gives a shit if it doesn't if it doesn't make sense with the story? I know, like, you know, and even on Vigilante, we've had our conversations with Wes. It's like, this car scene is really long, you know, but listen, man, we're gonna have to cut this down to like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And out, you know, but no, we shot all this. Yeah.
You're more
like-
precious about it, right? Because you've been through it. You've been in the trenches making it.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, but also, you know, like I think just as a director, you know, I'm good with listening to the counsel of my team. You know, like I trust my team, and you know, I'm all for, is this gonna make it better? You know, like and if so, I just close my eyes. I'm like, fine, just delete it. Just go, just get it rid of. Okay, fine. You know, I'm okay with that because I don't want any friction. I just want to get the best product possible. And if I really bump up against it, then I'll fight it. But most times I'm like, all right, cool. Let's make this thing happen.
I think surrounding yourself with a team that you trust, that you have, you know, diverse points of reference to, you know, with different perspectives is very important, I think, because it kind of like helps you see things differently and shape things a little bit differently. So I think trust and teamwork, collaboration and diversity is like the most important thing when you're like focusing on a story or addressing a story, because, you know, your audience is I know there's a lot of algorithms and targeted audiences and whatever, you know, I work in marketing as well. However, when you're trying to tell a story, a good filmmaker wants it to be relatable on the human scale, you know? And so it's important to have that sense of diversity. I feel like we did a wonderful job at, like, Wes was precious about things that were important for him to be precious about when it came time to letting things go, you know, and we all had different opinions and different thoughts, and it's also a balance of learning to let things go, and just as much it is learning to fight for the cause. It's about balance.
That comes after time, because like early me, Jamie, you know, we got into many battles, like, you know, my ego and just like, you know, just thinking it was all about like my vision. Like early filmmaker me, I'd be like, no, it's got to be like this. I'm telling, I don't know what you guys want me to do. It's got to be like that. We have to, you know. I was that, but you know, after years of training and just understanding, like, you know, learning how to fight your battles, like it's like it's not that important. You know, like this is what's important. Let's serve the story. Let's make this happen.
Filmmaking in general is like a collaborative like effort. Like you can't, you know, I always say this to people. It's like if you're an artist, you're a painter, right? You can wake up today and be like, I want to draw something, and you just go in your kitchen or wherever you're sitting down on your balcony, you draw that picture, and you're like, oh, this is great. All right, I'm gonna hang it in a gallery, and now everybody gets to see it. Your artwork is done. Everybody like admires it, or they're like, oh, we love this and all this. That just came from you, just you by yourself, you know. But you wake up, you're like, I want to make this movie. I have a great idea. You know, you're not gonna do that by yourself. You're gonna need a team of people that you trust around you to help mold and shape that vision that you had in your head and put it on the screen. So you can't do that by yourself. And so if you do have all those people around you, you put people around you, you have to be able to trust them. And you have to be able to trust their opinions and be able to collaborate. Yeah. In that sense.
Do you think that that's still, that's obviously still around today, even as it was in the 80s and the 90s, as we were saying, that the 90s was the best time for making films and things like that. There's still that kind of teamwork, ethos that's still going on even these days, right?
So.
I mean, I've not been on any set where you haven't had these, everybody kind of knows one another. They all know where each other's going to be. And actually, it's cool when it's all vibing and everybody feels like they're contributing in their own specific little way to the product.
You'd be surprised. It's still happening. It's like even on like all those big movies and even like on these big Marvel films, you would think that that director is only like their vision, but it's really not like that. It's everybody. There comes a point in that during that process where they start asking everybody for their opinion, all the way down to like the PAs.
There's some directors see that as a weakness, though. I think that's the sad thing, and there's one or two directors who would see it as a weakness almost to ask people. Well, Jamie, I watched your last Finding the Frame interview with Brendan, and there was a point where you were saying, I don't care who it is on the thing, everybody's got a say in the final product. Everybody's got some kind of input, right? Yeah.
Filmmaking is a team sport, is a team effort. It's not like if you're going to be an artist, like he was saying, like, this is the type of art, like, I don't care what you say, you can't do it by yourself. And if you do, it's not going to, I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't want to watch something that someone directed, shot, produced, edited, lit. Like congratulations.
Like a bad film festival list.
Congratulations, you're a multitasker. I know, because I multitask too.
Yeah.
But when you like really like team, like it's a really, like when you really develop your craft, you understand that a film is not about you.
Yeah.
A film is not about you at all. It's about the story. And we keep saying story. What furthers the story? Wes said it several times. You said it several times. It's like, that's what we're telling here. It's a story. You know, we're filmmakers, we're storytellers.
So is that what's missing today? The story's
Absolutely.
not being entirely like we're not starting with the script as Hitchcock said. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Go for it.
I feel so. And I think it's also, it does have like its benefits as being the social media stuff and all that kind of stuff. But like, I feel like, coming from watching people like develop, like from Vine, from all these things, and these filmmakers, they're getting up and just, grabbing their phones and making their own thing. And they're very used to just like, oh, it's just me. I can just wake up and make a Vine, or I can do something on my own. So it makes it a little bit, it does have like an adjustment period to be working with other people. Now you have to listen to other people. Yeah. If you actually want to make that's the difference between like making a film, and making like an Instagram.
Content.
Is that what drew you to it?
No, I was a filmmaker first.
Yeah.
When I was a filmmaker first, I worked from behind the camera. My goal was to be like an actor. Yeah. And I found a skill set behind the camera, shooting, photography, directing. But to piggyback off what Alan said, I think like what's great about social media is, and what a lot of people don't understand is, this is a stepping stone to do bigger things. Like, social media is great, but this is kind of like the actor's groundlings. Like, if you're good, you're just good. This is, there are people that are creating stuff that are natural directors, but they're like, oh no, I do social media. And what I've found is, especially with Vine, you had 6 seconds to tell a story. So you break that down. In order for someone to absorb any type of information, you need 0.5 seconds of a frame. Like, that's how detailed and technical it was for me, at least, to be like, okay, they can absorb information if I do 0.5 frames a couple different times I can tell something that's a story. I could fit a few different clips in to tell this. And same thing with when I transitioned to doing like national commercials. I remember the first set I was on, they were like, hey, we want to test you. We're going to bring another director in, but we want to do 3 commercials in one day. The AD's like, this is impossible to do.
Yeah.
We spend weeks or a week
brave.
on one commercial. And I looked at it, I was like, oh no, we can knock this out. This is going to be pretty easy because everything's in this central location. All I need is probably like 15 shots for this one. I need 25 for that one and 30 for that one. I think we could do this within 8 hours.
Wow.
And we did it. But like that came from, being so technical and so precise with like doing these vines and doing these smaller videos, because I knew I only have a few seconds to get you into this thing. So I applied that same principle. Even when I acted in my recent film with Cedric the Entertainer, I played his son, but Cedric's a seasoned actor. Like, how am I going to keep up with him? But the constant repetition of doing social media, I didn't go to any acting class. I was able to just kind of dive in and just do my thing. So I think it does have its benefits, and it would behoove people to be like, all right, you know what? Like, if I really want to do this and I really want to take it to the next level, like, I'm going to take this part of it serious. So when those opportunities do come, I'm ready to just do the thing.
Yeah. Do you think that's what's given you almost an edge or something different to other people? Like you've grown up in this world where it's short form and very, very quick.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to come up with something creative and original very fast. Get it online, I suppose, as quick as possible. You think that that's sort of molded you as a director to be able to make these creative decisions quicker than most who would probably sit down, go for a walk, take a little bit longer over it?
Yeah, because I'm not waiting around for the opportunity. I'm not sitting here writing 15 treatments that I don't get selected for. I'm just up and creating the opportunity for myself. And so with that, brand deals will come in and I'll just apply the same thing. Like, the difference between social media brand deal and a commercial brand deal is I could write a paragraph and they're like, all right, cool, here you go. Here's, $20,000 to do this thing. Whereas on a commercial, it's got to go through a whole process, like you're talking
Triple
about.
bid.
Yeah, 3 months
The
of
production
development.
companies putting up money to design the deck, to bid things out. You're working on it for 3-4 days, just putting in all the estimates
It's
and
so much
to present, and then you don't get the job.
And I think they need to change that model up a bit.
Yeah, okay.
Because I heard in Europe directors are demanding. I think I don't know if they passed the law, but I know that they're demanding to be paid for doing the treatments.
Yeah, I think
because
that's true.
it's such a taxing process to do, and I can't tell you how long I've spent on different commercial treatments that, after working on it, they're like, yeah, we lost this bid, and I'm just like, all right,
And it's gone. You
it's
can't.
gone.
Yeah.
But that you don't get that time back. So I think the process, like, you should pay the director that's writing the treatment, number one, because you're paying the deck people to do the deck.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing that needs to happen is you don't need 15 to 75 pages to explain something. It's like, hey, here's the idea. Are we all on the same page here?
Yeah.
Like, let's have a meeting. Let's talk about it. All right, this is what we're gonna do. Now let's break the storyboards down. I think there needs to be a simpler process and kind of condense the amount of people that are like adding to that thing. I think that would just make it a lot easier on everybody.
Yeah.
So we can just
I
do
think-
the thing.
I think so. Major companies like Google or like Coca-Cola or whatever, they will give an agency X amount of money for the bids.
Mm-hmm.
I typically somewhere along the line, it's not passed down to the production company or the artists. I think that it's an easy solve if you just like allocate X amount of. It doesn't have to be a lot of money. But directors just want to be compensated for their time.
Yeah.
It's really kind of more of a respect thing, and it's an emotional, a mental health issue when you work every single day for 8 hours a day on all these bids for 2 months and you don't get a single job. You start to feel like, oh, how am I going to eat? A starving artist. You start to feel like a sense of a loss of self-worth.
And you don't want to say no.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you need to do it. So even if it's just like a small, teeny tiny amount of money here and there per hour, per job bid, I think it would be like just respectful and nice to like
it's part of
honor
what,
somebody's time.
part of what the actors got last year was fighting for too, like for
Yes.
auditions. You
Yes,
know? Like I do
exactly.
auditions all the time, but now they're, they were asking for like, hey, if I'm gonna have to do all these auditions,
Like, and turn it in
and
tomorrow.
turn it over tomorrow, that is still my time that I'm taking to just do these auditions.
Yeah.
So they want to get, they should be compensated for that kind of stuff.
Even if it's a small amount of money,
Yeah.
they should absolutely be compensated.
Does
That's fair.
so as a producer, Jamie, does it have any weight whatsoever if a social media somebody who's got a strong social media following, if they put that into their pitch, is that going to have any impact on you as a producer to say, well, look, this person's got X number of million followers, or they've had this number of views, so therefore they've got the finger on the pulse of what the public want? Or is it a case of, somebody could do a really good pitch deck and you don't know how many followers they've got? or
Here's the
anything like that?
thing. You can't judge anything based on what I'm about to say because, no offense, I don't care how many followers you have.
Okay,
It means
yeah.
nothing to me.
Yeah,
I could care less. I want to know if you're good at your job.
yeah.
I want to know if you presented a wonderful idea.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I don't care if you're an up-and-coming director. I tend to give people more chances than other producers would. I'm not like, show me your reel. Somebody one time was like, I had all these music videos, and I looked back and I started to count them because someone was like, she didn't do all these things. She's not a real filmmaker, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, how many jobs have I done? How many commercials? How many music videos? I've done hundreds and hundreds of music videos in my almost 20-year career. And looking back, some of the most formative lessons I've ever had were on those projects because you have not a lot of money, not a lot of time, you have these big toys you get to play with and test out and all these high art form expectations. And it's not so, it's not as copy paste as certain commercials or whatever. So somebody said to me in an interview when I was trying to, do a feature film, they're like, none of this matters to me. This has no meaning. Tell me about the one feature you did. And I was like, it was the easiest thing I ever did.
Yeah.
Story was all right. I'm not really proud of it. Wouldn't put it on my resume if I wasn't going out for a feature.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that is like, mind you, I've done more features since then. But what my thing was like, how could this person not look at my body of work in totality? So, I don't judge people. If you have a wonderful idea, you have a go-get-'em attitude, and you follow directions, and you also, have like, put together the energy and the effort into a great pitch, I don't care how many followers you have.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you were to ask a marketer the same question,
Yeah.
or somebody whose job is to data and analytics, they're going to tell you, for the sake of the business or the company, no, I need to see this. So it's kind of like finding a balance in between those two things. But you asked me as a producer.
Yeah.
As a producer, I do not care.
Yeah.
But
There are producers out there potentially that do, or would you say no?
I think it's more the marketing.
As a
team.
marketing side
marketing
of
team will be
things, the
caring,
marketing
yeah.
teams,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
the
even
business
the
side
marketing
of
teams,
it.
like I'm actually gonna release a video in the next week or so about that.
Really?
And I was telling Brendan about that. Like, brands will say, what's your engagement like? How many followers do you have? Send me your
Yeah.
analytics. But that does not define the value of work that you put into the projects.
Of
That's
course.
what it should be based upon. Because when you say something like that to someone, like, the creator is not in charge of the analytics,
Yeah.
not in charge of the reach. I'm
Exactly.
just putting my stuff on this platform, but the work I put into it is worth X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
So when they try to say, you know what, like, your page is worth this, like, no, it's not. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Also,
not.
creators don't necessarily have control
Yeah.
No, you don't
of
have any
how the
control.
algorithms run things.
You don't have any control of that.
You know?
But like, I feel like that is something that like needs to change in our industry, as like how people see that, and they need to start looking at artists as a whole and just
Yeah.
not just like that one thing. Because I get that too as an editor, because even if you look at my career, I'm still fairly new of like climbing on the ladder of
Yeah.
like becoming an
Me
editor,
too.
because I've been like a lot of assisting, and then you start to like edit, but you run into that same thing when I go into an interview of like, oh, well, what have you edited before? All right. And I can name all the other stuff. Like, I can say, hey, I was an assistant editor on Wakanda Forever. I was an assistant editor on Transformers and whatnot. Huge movies.
Yeah.
Multi-million-dollar movies and stuff like that. That should tell you that I know my way around a studio.
Yeah.
I know my way around. But
Around
but they're like
Avid, yeah.
they're like, but you weren't the lead editor.
And that's
You know, and
What
I'm
do you
like,
say to that? though? What's your,
There's so much value in him
Yeah.
being in the room and eating
Yeah.
at the table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The quiet person sitting at the table, they were invited to the table for a reason.
Yeah.
They're observing. The observer who's absorbing all of that information, I value that so much. If you have, you know, a skill of observation, awareness, and you got invited to the table, I don't care if you're quiet in the corner. I want you for my next project.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's why they get surprised when finally you do your own thing, or you know, you end up going do Vigilante, and then you get people saying, wow, look at how'd you put this. I'm like,
That's why it's so,
I've been
like, that
learning
project is so important
this whole
for
time.
us.
is
you
that
know?
what Vigilante was for you guys? Like you wanted to showcase what you
Yeah.
could do as artists and how you could work together and things like
Yeah,
that.
and
Yeah.
like I mean, like I think it served multiple values for all of us. You know, for me, like I need to showcase that I'm a storyteller. I'm a director outside of commercials, outside of social media. Like I can manage, you know, a high production value, visual effects driven project.
Yeah.
So it was important for me. Alan, you know, like they need to see like, yo, can you,
lead up
You know,
a post-production room.
yeah,
You know.
you know,
I see you.
And yeah, and even though I've done it like multiple times on the independent side, but when you go to the studio level, now it's like, well, have you done a studio
he
film?
did- he
You
did
know,
the studio,
you always
yeah.
run into these
always
like
run into it.
roadblocks.
But
Yeah.
what was great
But you-
about it, he led a studio pipeline
Yeah.
production for it. You know, like exactly how Marvel would do it, how they laid it out, everything. I learned that
Because you've been in
process.
the room.
Yeah, because I've been in the
Yeah.
room.
So I learned that process, and I was like, damn, we even had when he told me we had the music editor from Oppenheimer on it. I'm like, okay, this is
Oh,
crazy.
that's cool. I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah.
What, on Vigilante?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
We
had some
had
heavy
we
hitters.
have wonderful sound, wonderful music score,
Yep.
like
Yep.
wonderful edit.
Original.
I'm very proud of this for all of those reasons. And then on a systemic like side of things, business systems type of side of things, the value I have for this project is talk about social media. You're not going to find our film on social media. You got to come to the film festivals
Yeah.
if you want to
Correct.
see our film. We're doing something opposite or different from what the algorithm would tell us to do.
Okay,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Also, nowadays there's this like thing about, oh, who cares about superhero films right now? They're so tired of the copy paste. They're not tired of the action. They're not tired of the superhero story. It is innate in humanity to have that like heroic character.
Correct,
Like
yeah.
you see it in religions across the globe. You see it throughout history and storylines from, you know, every culture.
Yeah.
The hero story will prevail. It's who we
Forever.
are.
Yeah.
However, it's like, how is it being told? You know? And so we got to tell it in a way that's like unique, different, but we're still telling a superhero story.
Once you tell something from a different lens, people are very interested in it.
Yes.
Yeah, because
You know?
this had like just for the audience really, this had almost like a heist. It's like The Boys
Yeah.
meets a heist film.
Yeah.
It had a
Yeah.
lot of different kind of
Yes.
elements to what we've
Yep.
seen, tried and tested throughout
Yeah.
the cinemas. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what we wanted. We wanted to have, you know, yes, this is a superhero story, like, you know, and to be honest,
Grounded
like,
in realism.
you know,
Yep.
but
Yeah.
it's like, it's we try to make it real. We try to stay with the characters. When Wes came to me with this idea and everything, I told him like the way that this succeed is if we focus on the characters and all the superpower and glamorous shit that's in the background. That's like an added bonus, you know. It's like if you get your normal mail delivery guy and he's going about his day and you want to know why is this guy so happy about delivering the mail, but then, you know, he so happens to have superpowers. He can run really fast, and you know, so that's just like a secondary added bonus. Once we make the audience fall in love with the characters,
Yeah.
then you've won.
Yeah.
You know.
I think that's what made Nolan and Matt Reeves' Batman
Yeah.
films so accessible. Really, I think it was this thing that it wasn't necessarily the superpowers all the time. It was really kind of like What was it? Bane was like a a masked vigilante kind of thing. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Not to use vigilante all the time, you know what I mean? But yeah,
Yeah.
it was a mercenary running. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what you were aiming for? You wanted something completely different?
I wanted something completely different. You know, films that really inspired it were like The Boys or John Boyega's Attack the Block.
Yeah. Great
a little-
film.
Any anime, My Hero Academia. I wanted to show, you know, like what would happen in a world where heroes pass over underprivileged neighborhoods. What would those characters feel like? You know, you have powers, but you don't have the license to use them. You know, like,
I like that.
what is life like that? So, you know, really at the ground level, you know, you have characters that have witnessed destruction. You know, they've witnessed their families, you know, pretty much lay in crumpled buildings, and where one character is saved, and you know he's inspired by the heroes. Another character is left, you know, picking up the pieces, and he's like, well, fuck these heroes, you know, like I'm gonna look out for myself and the people that I care about. So you know, heroes and villains, they both have the opportunity. They're both telling themselves like they're right about the thing that
Yes.
they're doing.
That's good.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
Very
I love
Fincherest.
yeah.
I love
Yeah.
flawed
Yeah.
characters
Yeah.
on both sides.
Exactly,
of
and
the-
I love stories that are like rooted in reality. You know, I've always gravitated towards that. I love stories where I could see the real world and then you add layers on top of that. So let's say, I don't know, it's a story about police brutality or something like that. You're like, well, yeah, this is a story about police brutalities and stuff, but all the police are robots. So now, you know,
Yeah.
the core of the story is based in reality already, and then now the police are AI.
Yeah, okay.
You know, so and you already have like that whole AI talk, how sentient or AI gonna get and stuff like
So
that.
sort of thematically things that are going on in our world today, but just
Exactly.
exacerbated into this-
Exactly.
yeah, brought into a different world. I
Yeah.
like that. Going back to what you just said, Jamie. So the idea is that I quite like that. This idea that yeah, you're going to go to film festivals and stuff, but this isn't going to appear on like a YouTube and just be left there for monetization or anything like that. You make it. I suppose it's going back to what we started talking about. This idea of reclaiming the art.
Yes.
You know, like I said this to Brendan before. It's one of these things of. I don't know, it'd be really cool to see a Scorsese or a Tarantino say, I'm going to release a film, but I'm not going to put it in all the cinemas across America and the world. I'm going to put it in ones that are here and here. If you want to see this, you have
come-
to travel to visit it. Almost like you visit in a gallery. So I'm sure it would be crazy for the marketing team,
Yeah.
and they wouldn't be very happy about it. I'm sure that the streaming services would go crazy.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like doing that and reclaiming this idea of this is going to be in cinemas a bit like an artifact, a bit like an artifact or something like that. Come into a gallery, come into a museum. You have to visit to see it, and you've got 3 months to see it, and then it's going to be gone.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it won't be on DVD for another year or another 8 months or something like that. Is that how we reclaim it?
Yeah,
Sorry.
but like
yeah.
in a way, that's I feel like even right now, in a way, that's how Francis Coppola is trying to reclaim
Yes.
With
With
Megalopolis?
Megalopolis,
Okay,
you know,
yeah.
no matter like whatever your critiques of the film is or whatever it is, but like this is a film that he made with his own money.
Yeah.
You know, he said, you know, he's not controlled by a studio or anything like that. It's just, I'm an artist. I want to make art. I don't care if I make more money or lose the money. I just want this out in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
You
cool.
know, and
Yeah.
then he went out and he just did it.
And that's
Yeah.
what we did with Vigilante.
Yeah.
We used our own money, time, energy,
Really.
resources, favors.
Yep.
Yeah.
So let's take that back then. Let's go. Not that we're going to restart this whole pod, but like going back. So how you guys all come together to collaborate on a project like this? How did you begin your relationship, Jamie? Start me off.
Okay, so we met in film school
Nice.
back in 07, 08, 09 area.
Okay.
Era, not area, era. And we kind of like formulated our little friendship group, and then we kind of all spread out and did our own things for many years actually. And just recently it was like, you know, the strike happening and you have a little bit of time on your hands, and Wes is like, yo, I got a project. And I was like,
I got a project.
well, I have time, which I never had. You know, I was
Yeah.
so busy that, you know, my mental health was suffering, my relationships were suffering. I was just like, you know, grinding, going through the motions with my career, which was, you know, amazing because I had a lot of high moments, Grammys, so on and so forth. But then I didn't get to like fully be present and enjoy them. And then the strike happened and I had all this time. And then I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. You know, there was the same effect, but opposite. But then Wes came and he was just like, hey, I want to, we got to work anyways. Let's make art. And it breathed life into my career again, honestly. And it helped me and also our working relationship. And then we got Alan over here.
Yeah.
And our working relationship and our dynamic is different a decade later. You know, there's a lot of growth, a lot of maturity, a lot of lessons learned in between. So it was kind of like, I know I'm not a boy, but it's like the boys are back. Yeah. We're together.
It's the team.
But different.
Like
I was one of the boys.
Together, right? Yeah.
I was one of the boys. There were not many, but there were not many. There were maybe like 5 girls in the entire school when I was there.
Wow. Yeah. And this was Full Sail Academy, right? That's what it was.
Now there's women everywhere, but like at the time there was like
there wasn't that many
5
in my class. I'm remembering now. Nope. But yeah, like I've known Wes since. It's a funny story because I met Wes at Full Sail, and I've always been doing my own projects and stuff like that. Ever since Full Sail, people are going out to the clubs and stuff like that. I'm asking the lab attendant, hey, can I sit in the editing room like when everybody's out? And I'm there by myself. I'm doing those things. I'm shooting oh, hey, I got a little music video. Can I use the soundstage? And all the teachers were always so supportive of that. And it would just be me and this little artist and like maybe 5 of us, and we're just shooting our own video because we had all this resource. I always like see what's in front of me, and I'm always like using my resources to the fullest, and so I was doing that around school. And I think Wes was a couple months behind me, and he had the same drive as me. So eventually I think one of our teachers was like, hey, wait, telling him, hey, have you met Alan yet? And then that's how he was like, no, I haven't met him yet. Well, I got to introduce you to Alan because like he's a couple months ahead of you, but he has the same drive as you. And then then we met, and then we started doing all those projects together.
I was like his intern.
Yeah.
All right, let me just help you out with this. Like,
and then I was your intern.
Yeah.
So the 3 of you are almost learning from each other, like picking up all the different, elements of the filmmaking world that you can, and then trying to share it. Yeah, I like
exactly.
That. That's cool.
And I've never been like, I will never be like a gatekeeper. I don't like that when people are like, oh, this is just for me. You have to be able to prepare the next generation, the next person up. It's lonely at the top. I don't want to be alone at the top. So I want everybody to be going up with me.
That's kind of unique to filmmakers as well, I'd say. I mean, like one thing that I've found in the filmmaking world is there's an awful lot of camaraderie and like, let me teach you how this is, let me show you how this is and stuff like that. Did you find you started off working when you came out here in camera rental, right? So you were taking out cameras and things like that and learning things in that way too, right? Yeah.
On the weekends, if there was an extra camera, I was taking it out, running it downtown and trying out filters or trying different lenses or trying to understand the in and outs of how the camera bodies work. The Red had come out basically right when we got out of college. And so
the Red One?
The Red One.
Red One. Now we're going back.
Wow.
Made by the guy who made the Oakleys, you know that
that's
one?
Right.
Yeah. Wild.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to be on the forefront of that technology because we learned film at Full Sail. We learned 35, 16 millimeter,
35.
Yeah. And so it was nice to experience. And then I ended up being one of the techs. If anyone had an issue with it, I'd come fix it. And then I remember doing a music video where I was producing a couple years later, and the camera team was really struggling, and they were like, oh no. And I was like, well, you got to reset the chip, you got to do these things, you got to run the system software and reset it and all the stuff. So I went and fixed it up, and then they were like, how did you know?
It gives you all of these different facets, doesn't it? All these different attributes.
No, it really does help. And I do love how we we all came from the same place, and we started together, and we did spread out and do
branched off.
Jamie went out and started producing all these videos and films and gaining all this experience. Wes is out there directing all these commercials and all of that, and gaining that experience on set and the directing aspect. And I was in the post world, and then I got into the studio system.
Hold on. Alan worked from the freaking mailroom
Yeah.
up. You
That's
know, like
right.
he started at the very bottom, which is very rare nowadays. But like from the bottom up. So when someone says, you know, like, yeah, but what else have you done? I'm like, why would you? This guy's done everything to earn this position.
absolutely.
You know, and it's so rare that people even go that route.
Yeah,
It
you know,
is.
and it's like, you know, I would never say no. I always see like the potential of things.
Yeah.
I have that vision. I feel like, and I think that's what's been working for me. Like even if you say, hey, can you work on this film for free? You know, and I'm always analyzing of seeing what the script is, what the story is, and I'm like, and I'll see the potential and be like, this film is going to be bigger than.
Yeah.
You know, it is. So I do want to work on this for free.
Yeah.
You know, and so when you talk about the mailroom, I got here and I had no prospect. I was actually right out of college. I went to work on a cruise ship.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, and I was doing like I was still filming on the cruise ship and editing on the cruise ship, and that gave me my editing like hours of like just sitting there learning how to edit on that. But when I got to LA, I got off the ship and they gave me a flight to go back home. I just never went home. I've been
Just
here
stuck here.
ever since. You know, I went to a hotel. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna figure it out. I'll find something to do and stuff. And so I started calling everybody I knew. And one of my friends that was at Full Sail was working at a post house, like a small little post like house in Burbank. And it was like, hey, well, it's not much. I know you know how to edit already and whatnot, but like they're hiring for like the mail room where you're just gonna be delivering like the tapes and stuff, right? And I got in there, and I'm like, I said yes immediately because I already saw the potential. I needed my foot in the door.
Gotcha.
A lot of people would say, "Oh no, I'm not. That's below me or whatnot." But I'm like, no, I just got here to LA. I need my foot in the door. Once I'm inside, I know I will be moving up.
Do you think that background has given you that kind of, I don't know, that grit and determination to definitely make it and push for the?
I think so.
For more?
Going on the cruise ship and traveling around the world and meeting all these different cultures and of people and dealing with a lot of different personalities and all around the world. And like I've always been able to adapt. So being in that aspect, I was only in the mailroom for 3 months.
Wow.
They hired me thinking that that's where I was going to be, but I got in there and I was doing that for like 3 months. And one day I was in the kitchen just eating my lunch, and one of the head of the department of the digital media department was like, "Hey, man," at the time it was Final Cut. Does anybody know any people that cut on Final Cut? We need to hire a new Final Cut editor for like the digital media department. And I'm just eating my lunch, just like they're talking over, and I'm like, I know Final Cut. He's like, you know Final Cut? Really? Show me what you got. Here's a tape. Go capture this tape and put it in Final Cut and do like these 3 cuts, export it out with stereo audio. Like I was like, that's the test.
Yeah.
Like
You're
okay.
like, easy.
You
Okay.
think that's
Let's
air
go.
you're breathing?
You think that's air? Exactly. Like really, that's the test. All right. So I did all that,
Yeah.
and then I gave it to him. It was on a Friday.
Yeah.
I remember it was on a Friday, and he was like, "Monday, you're in the digital media department. Throw away the vest thing." And next thing you know, Monday, I'm working in the online digital media department on How I Met Your Mother, Fox.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I'm working on The Simpsons, Family Guy, and doing all that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's really cool. And when you guys all came together then, I suppose it was nice to see how you developed as artists as well,
Yeah.
right? And the things that you'd picked up.
Well,
That's cool.
we've been like low key keeping track
Keeping
of
in
each
touch.
other.
Oh, yeah.
We'll send emails, like group emails called Share
Share
Time. Share time, or like text messages like once, twice a year. Hit the group.
And it is funny. Like we, even though like it's kind of like when we don't talk for we didn't talk for like a while
Yeah.
just because we're all busy, we're all doing our own thing. But when we started talking again, it was like as if like I just saw you yesterday.
Yeah.
And it was so random because I always been following Wes and Jamie and everybody on social media. I'm seeing everybody rise. I'm seeing Wes's like rise on social media and everything. And like I'm hearing like from other people, like I'll be like, oh man, have you seen this guy? What's good? This is funny. I'm like, yeah, I know him. And so it's kind of like I was so proud just to hear from some random stranger that's like admiring his work, and I'm like, yeah, I know this guy. And then I think it was like the same thing too. He was following me too, because like as soon as like I was like on these Marvel projects, and I'm like, I finally announced, oh hey, I'm on Doctor Strange, and then I get a text message from this guy, like, yo, what? Like this, and then we just started talking again, like we were kids, you know?
Is that what drove you to want to create something with these guys? You were like, oh, I've seen that these guys have done this, I've done this, we need to bring these together to make something. A bit like a kind of Avengers Assembled, as opposed to sticking with the hero threat, you know?
Kind of.
I feel like, you know, these are my actual friends, and I think, you know, there's the Issa Rae had said, you know, you don't network up, network across. Like the people that are next to you are the ones that you're gonna win with. And I spent a lot of time early on in my career trying to impress whoever they are, you know, like, hey, I did this, you know, but like they're fucking working with their friends, and so you get to a point. I got to a certain point where people were just emailing me so much that were like kind of coming up behind me and hitting me with messages. I'm like, well, damn, I didn't realize I was even like gaining an audience of people that were watching this work. And so I'm like, all right, you know what? Like the people that I know can handle these things, can produce, can edit these things, are people that I actually know. Let me just hit them up and see, hey, can we do this? You know, like that was like an easy call, because they're both experts at what they do. Jamie's one of the best producers in Hollywood. Alan's one of the best editors in Hollywood. And these are people that genuinely love their craft. And so I've always been good at selecting people that love what they do to help elevate what I do. You know?
Jamie, is that the same when we're talking about like this idea of constantly pushing the limit? I suppose, you know, you guys, you come together, then you go off on your separate journeys, and all three of you seem to always want to be kind of doing something, you know, fresh and something like almost pushing that bar higher. I come to you because like obviously you're a VMA winning music producer. You've won an awful lot more as well, but you know, music videos have had this sort of all these like artistic outlets, things like that, and then all of a sudden, since the last time you were on Filmmakers Academy on our Finding the Frame, you've done this Halsey, hang on, let me remember what it's called. Halsey's If I Can't Have Love, I Want Power, and that seems to be absolutely crazy. It's in Prague. There's castles, there's fire, there's underwater scenes. It's all being filmed while she's 6 months pregnant or something crazy, and it's like pushing this limit constantly higher. I mean, that was almost an hour of not even a music video, I wouldn't call it. I would say it's an experience.
It's a film. It's almost a feature film.
So are you always, to almost go into a question, are you always pushing for that?
I'm always pushing the boundaries. I'm always trying to see, and I'm always utilizing the tools and the experiences that and the lessons learned along the way to see what I, you know, can create next. And I also, something that I do that's, I don't know if it's normal or not, but I always look at society and at where are we at right now and what kind of stories need to be told. And if something comes to my plate that I think is really fitting for the time, because timing is a lot to do with everything. Like reading Malcolm Gladwell's books, you're like, look, you can have talent, experience, but timing is a lot to do with it. So I definitely, you know, my fiance, he's in science community, he's an engineer, and so he and I always talk like art imitates science, science and then imitates art. And the same goes for society with storytelling. Like things happen in society and you're like, whoa, this is crazy. We need to tell a story about it. And then there has to be a lesson learned or some sort of theme or through line. And then in the process of learning that lesson and that theme, you're changing culture. So I'm kind of like in the storytelling world, I feel like I'm a little bit of a Ben Gesserit back here in the shadows. Like culture is impactful and, you know, this is what's happening. And then, you know, someone will be like, do you want to do this music video? No. This one? Yeah, I'll do that one. I'll do that one because I know that what I can add to it and what I can shape with the information that I know about the meaning of this message or whatever is like, I'll push it. So, you know, my format's kind of all over the place between music videos, commercials, feature film, short films,
Documentaries.
editorial. Sometimes I do photo campaign documentaries. Like I'll do a little bit of everything if I feel like, but I know that whatever I want to do, I want it to be culturally impactful.
Yeah.
You know, that's also why I named my company Artifact. Side tangent. An artifact is like, you know, something that's human made that is culturally defining for that era. And so I feel like, to me, like if you're, you know, able to influence, support, and help shift culture in a way where there's lessons learned, there's growth, there's overcomings, that's kind of like why I do what I do.
Yeah. I suppose in the rawest sense of the word, influencer, without being social media, I mean literally influencing the way that people interact with the world again, you know?
Yeah, because art isn't for at least my art is never for me.
No.
My art's not for me. It's my gift to society.
Would you
to
say
other
it comes
people.
from hardship as well? Like you were talking about, you know, you needed this when COVID struck and we were all sat inside during the pandemic and stuff. I wrote a thing for Shane when I was working here on his newsletter that was something to do with, I think it was about the Renaissance back in sort of 15th century, 17th century Italy, when it was like the Black Plague had been in the UK and then Europe and all these places where lots of people were dying, lots of people had to stay inside. There was this quarantine idea. And then after that, you had Michelangelo painting the Sistine Chapel. You had these amazing artists came out and were like, we need to make art because we've been stuck inside. Would you say that art comes from that hardship? It came from you working in the mailroom. It came from everything that you've been through, and it came from everything that you went through as an artist, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely like that. I think it does play a part. It has to play a part.
Yeah.
In making you a better artist.
Yeah.
You know, because like I remember when I moved here and I was just sleeping on an air mattress. You know, I went from the air mattress to like finally getting a frame, finally getting a real mattress, to like you kept on seeing the progress.
Yeah.
And seeing every little progress meant something to me.
Yeah.
You know, and I kept on building on top of that, and it kept on pushing me, and my friends were pushing me too. You know, and that's why like I love working with Jamie and Wes, is because like they push me to my limits too. They push me to be better than the last time. So you know, when like I'm in the editing room sometimes and I'm like, oh man, I can't go on, I can't even see it anymore. Wes will just come by and we stay up all night. You know?
Or I'll take over and become proficient.
Oh
in
yeah, he said so. He's proficient in Avid.
Yeah, we don't always have comfortable conversations.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But I think that the beauty about that is like, it's like, and I say this about my core friends, my group of friends, lady friends. We shouldn't be friends on paper. We don't have the same political values, culture, religion. Nothing's the same. We're not supposed to be friends. But like we've gotten comfortable with getting uncomfortable and having uncomfortable conversations, because that's how you learn and grow from each other.
Really
you know, I've learned so much from these two on this film, like so much for different reasons. And it's just made me a better filmmaker and a better producer and better, honestly, at listening.
Yeah. I mean, there's an
Better
honesty
listener.
to it. One thing that I noted it when I was watching the film. I thought it's what we say in England, is that a labour of love. You know what I mean? You can not really a passion project. I hate that phrase. But yeah, a labour of love. You can see that every single person is bringing their game to it and has certainly committed a lot of themselves to it, you know. But yeah, that honesty of in a team that you've created, an ecosystem that you've brought together. Yeah, I like that. That's cool.
It's funny that you say you don't like passion project. You don't like that term.
I don't know why. It always feels like it's demeaning in a way.
That-
Like
that's how I feel.
I think because passion project has been used for things that are kind of a subpar level of artistic creativity. Like they're like, oh yeah, it was all right. It was a passion project, and you think, but that shouldn't demean it. You know what I mean? Passion project should be something where you go, wow, this was amazing, and it was amazing because of the passion put into it.
I feel the same way about labor of love though too.
Oh no, wait, go back, cut.
I feel the same way about passion project and labor of love, because when you watch people accept awards, they're like, it was such a labor of love, and I'm like, okay. So me and my girl like,
It's a bit
struck
cliche,
that,
right?
We've struck that from any speech that I say. I will not be saying at the end of the day, guys, this was just really a labor of love. I won't say it. I won't.
We'll go passion project. It's a better way to say it.
No,
Yeah.
I think like
Let's pick a new term.
it's something different. It's
We're gonna come up with our
yeah,
own term.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll come up with
come back to
something, but
you.
it's
In terms of Vigilante, then, so this has been, as you said, it's a short film. What's the idea with this? Do you want it to inspire something that's going to be a longer term, like a
we're-
feature?
Yeah,
tell
we're
me.
currently writing the feature right now.
Okay.
We've been meeting pretty much weekly to get this thing together before we go out and present it to anybody else or even bring the film. It's been shown to a lot of different producers in Hollywood, and I've even gotten notes from Mike Ireland over at Paramount and Jesse Collins over Jesse Collins Entertainment, who've given me notes early on the script. But before I go out and actually sit down with them and say, hey, listen, here's the feature, I want the script to be done, or like even here's the short, like there's a bigger conversation to be had once that's done. So it was really important to be able to tell a story, to be able to get buzz behind it. We're doing all the marketing ourselves on social media and getting social media people and creators involved behind like pushing this thing, going to the festivals, making sure we document it and making it, really taking that Will Smith Bad Boys model approach, where how he blew that thing up, how Ryan Reynolds blew that thing up, just all on their own, putting all that behind it, and just using social media for what it is. Like, I'm just going to spread awareness of this thing, which is why you'll see these things, or you'll see someone, a video saying the biggest film of the summer, like bringing that old vibe back. It's just, kind of a grassroots thing, and just, really getting down to betting on yourself. Like, I believe in this, and I'm going to make sure you see other people have believed in this.
Yeah, I suppose now that you've finished the film, it's all done and everything like that, and then it's like a case of, right, now you've got to gear yourself up in order to, I suppose, spread the word yourself and get people.
Yeah, just build
and
the
that's where
buzz.
you bring in all your other facets that you've got from doing social media and things like that, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So
So,
the
what do
LA
you do? You reach out, because this is something that I really like about the social media world, or about the influencers, I suppose you'd call it. One thing we could learn as filmmakers is collaborators in terms of all these individual people, all this ecosystem coming together of social media influencers, I suppose, to share one project, to share your film. I know that it's been shared yesterday. I saw on your social media.
Yep.
You guys were having somebody who's got an awful lot of followers who does a lot of film reviews and things like that. He shared it.
Yeah,
So it's
I was
that
excited
idea.
when I saw that.
Yeah.
I was, because like it was funny, because it's like, I know like Wes knows him and stuff, but like I was just following him even before that, before I even knew like Wes knew him, in a way, and I was like, I always take his recommendations like that. Some nights, like me and my girlfriend would be like, oh, what are we watching tonight? Well, let me take a look at
Let's
his
see what-
page.
let's see what Bryce
Let's see
said.
what Bryce says.
Yeah.
And then so we scroll through and like, let's watch this one. I actually just watched last night Rebel Ridge,
Oh, yeah.
from his page.
Yeah,
Just
great
I'm like,
film.
oh, this looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, let's watch this.
Yeah. So like, I mean, like creators, they have such powerful platforms or powerful voices, and I've always been a fan of, one person at a time.
Yeah.
All I need to do is reach one person. It doesn't need to reach masses, just one person at a time. If they like it, they commented, I'm going to engage with them. And that touch point is so important to me.
Yeah. Is there a lot of short form creators that are wanting to turn to long form, or do you find that that's something?
I think so. I think we get into social media, to get noticed, or to get someone to check out the thing that we're doing,
I
in
get
some
you.
sort of facet.
So that's your shop window, I suppose. Your shop window is social media, and then once they're there, you can say, I've got something longer term that's going to require a bit more of your attention.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
like that's why I've built this broadcast channel on my platforms, where I can just update people and then showcase, like, hey, this is a dope thing to practice on in terms of filmmaking. Hey, have you ever shot your iPhone this way or edited it on this program? Which is why I started getting more into like the educational aspect of filmmaking, just sharing my experience.
Yeah.
Like Alan said, I don't believe in gatekeeping. Like, here's the answers. We're here to pull the curtain back and show you how the stuff is made.
Yeah, I think that's what Filmmakers Academy are doing as well. And obviously, Jamie's one of our mentors. And like from you have lots of people who go to like NYU Tisch and LA Film Academy and these different ones that are very expensive to go to at AFI. These are costing tens of thousands of dollars to go to. So when you have people who are willing to open up the lid and show them ways to shoot with cameras and show them how to do different things like this, it really does help.
Yeah.
Especially people who are like our viewers, our listeners.
I wish like I had a lot of these resources, because it's like a lot of these things that I learned, like even back then when I was like trying to edit the music videos or the short films and whatnot, I didn't know what I was really doing. If I want to be honest, like I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like, okay, maybe like you just got to put the things together and whatnot. It wasn't until like I really started to just like sit in these bigger rooms and watching from like the sidelines, like, oh, you know what? Setting up the timeline like that does make it easier to like cut.
Mentorship is so
God.
important.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I think that's why I joined Filmmakers Academy. Is like I didn't have a mentor.
Me neither.
No.
We didn't have mentors. We had to learn the hard way, and I felt like a part of that was like, okay, great, you learn, and don't ever do that again.
Yeah.
But in filmmaking, like, this is such a like burn onto the next one industry, high competition. Like once somebody throws you out, you're out. So it's like, if I had some sort of mentor that was like, actually, if you just do it like this, like you were saying, it's so much easier, I'd be like, oh my God, thank you.
Yeah.
So like, I want to be what I did not have.
Yeah. Same.
For sure.
Yeah,
Same
that's a
Same
really
here.
good comment.
And there's there like I've ran into like everybody's different in the industry, so you run into there's certain editors that just don't want you to touch the editing room, the timeline. If you're assisting, that's it. They just want you to assist. And then there's other editors which I feel like are the best to me, because they'll be like, hey Alan, actually, you know what? Here, take these scenes and cut those, and then show them to me, and then I'll watch it and I'll give you notes, and then you go back and then
That should make me so excited.
Yeah, that gets me excited. That's why.
Because it's a fresh perspective too, and you can always, as a leader, you can always be like, okay, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. But the fact that they've opened their doors to me, it means so much.
Yeah.
And I've learned so much like that, and that's why like I feel like I'm very confident in the fact that like I know if you give me a feature film right now, I can put it together. I can put a team together. I can lead a room because I've learned from the best.
Yeah.
I've been in the rooms with some of the best.
And that's something that you're endeavoring to pass on to other people. I saw that you guys have been to, was it Compton High School? Was that where you went to?
To
do
there.
a showing of Vigilante. And
showing a Vigilante, and then also like a mentorship, go there, talk to the students, inspire them, because it's a creative arts school. There's filmmakers there. There's music artists there. But, I met them, and I met the instructor, Jamee, and he had me come out just to speak to students and talk to them about my journey and what it's like.
And it's important to see that people have done it. That people who've come from their same background as well, I suppose. Yeah.
So working on Wakanda Forever, right? My background, my family's Haitian.
Yeah.
All right, we're from Haiti. I was born in the States in New York, but like my family's Haitian. So in Wakanda Forever, there's the scenes in Haiti and all of that, and we go back to like collaborating when I was on the project. I was on a huge project and nobody knew how to film in Haiti. How do we get these shots and how do we do this? And they turned to the only Haitian guy that was on.
That's great.
In the post-production room, and that wasn't even my department or my job to do, but I went above and beyond, and I was able to like help them like accomplish those shots and get those shots in Haiti, help with like the translation and all of that. So I was a very big part in those scenes.
Yeah.
So after Wakanda Forever came out, and all these like news channels and articles are coming out about me. Oh yeah, this guy was doing all these things, and he's also Haitian. I started getting floods of like DMs on my Instagram by kids in Haiti.
That's amazing.
Like little kids in Haiti saying they were saying like I never thought like I would see somebody that looked like me that were in these rooms. I didn't think we were in these rooms and all of this. And they're interested about film. How did you get started? How do I edit? What should I do to be like you? And I was just taken aback, like, wow, I didn't even realize how much I was just influencing these like strangers.
It's so important.
Just by
yeah.
my face, just like them seeing my face, because like usually that's why like I try to post a lot on my Instagram. If you notice, like a lot of editors, they they live in the editing room.
don't know what they look
You don't
like.
know what
You're
they
right.
look
You're
like.
absolutely right,
You're
yeah.
you're very much like, if you could see all your greatest films that you've like watched or
Yeah.
whatnot, minus a few here and there. If I tell you, how does this editor look like, you would not know them.
They're
if
just
you
a
walked
name
in.
at the
They're
end of
just
all
a
those
name.
credits. Yeah,
Exactly.
you're
You always
right.
see the director. You always see the
Correct.
maybe the producers. You know what I mean? But like you never really, the editors are never that kind of like
Out there.
personality.
And it's a rich man's sport, rich person's sport, I suppose. It's a sandbox.
Yeah.
The filmmaking industry is very rich, isn't it?
Yeah.
Certainly a place where rich kids can go to play.
Exactly.
And for those
Yes.
people who come from difficult backgrounds, I'm from Northern England. I'm from quite a working class background. I
Yeah.
come from the same areas where Ridley Scott came from and Danny Boyle. So like it's great to see those people
Yeah.
ascend to these levels, even when Ridley Scott's doing Gladiator 2 with a $350 million budget, or whatever the hell it is now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To see where he came from and
Exactly.
to witness the heights,
Yeah.
it shows that it can be done.
It
It's
can be done.
possible.
Yeah.
That is the thing, the possibility. Because like when I was growing up, and even when I was like a kid and wanting to do like storytelling and stuff, I had nobody to talk to, to tell me that like I
It was a
can do
pipe
this.
dream, I suppose. Every
Yeah.
time you said to somebody you
Yes.
wanted to work in the film industry,
Yeah.
they probably
They were
said
like,
something like,
yeah,
well, good luck to you.
Good
You know what I
luck.
mean?
Exactly.
My dad said to me, have a backup plan when I said I wanted
Yeah.
to work in
Oh,
this
man.
industry. And it was always
And for
it was
me,
worse
like
than passion project.
Yeah.
It was- yeah,
exactly. For me, like if I'm doing a backup plan, that means I'm setting myself to fail.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know,
There
and
is
then
no plan B.
There was
there
no
was no
plan
plan
B
B
for
for me.
us.
You
No
know, I
plan
was
B.
just like, no, this is plan A. I'm gonna make plan A work. No matter what. You
Yeah.
know, and so yeah, like I grew up like watching all the behind the scenes
Yeah.
and everything. And even when I used to watch it and see how the films are made, I never really saw anybody that looked like me. You know, like growing up in the in the 90s and what, like I would watch everything. Like I remember HBO used to have like the making of
Yeah.
after on Saturday night when they show the premiere of the film, then they have the making of, and I would always watch the making of. I would rarely see any people that look like me.
Yeah. You should have done one for Vigilante. Seriously,
know,
I'd have
we-
loved to
no,
have watched
we-
that.
Oh,
we
we
have-
did?
we have behind
Oh,
the scenes.
okay.
Yeah, we
Okay.
have.
Okay.
Yes,
Sorry.
it's
coming. It's coming.
Send it to
It's
me.
coming.
Yeah.
I
But-
still have to sit down with these two and be like, all right, so let's talk about the film. But I have the bones of the behind the scenes already cut.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, nah, it's like
Especially
it's
for our
so
viewers.
Yeah.
important for kids to be able to see us. You know what I'm saying?
You're right.
And like even like a young girl that wants to produce, and it's like sometimes it's a very male dominated
It
industry. You know, they see all these big producers doing all these big action films, but here comes Jamie. She's like, yeah, I just produced this action superhero film.
Yeah,
You know,
you're right, it
and
is
this,
though.
that inspires them. They're like, if you could do it, then that means it is possible.
Yeah.
You know, and
I worked in Turks and Caicos, just north of Haiti, for a bit, filming I don't know, wedding videos and,
Yeah.
and hotels and stuff like that. And they had a film festival that they started just as I was leaving, so around about 2018. And the saddest thing was, I said to him, I said, you don't have a cinema on the island to
Yeah.
have a film festival. Like
Wow.
none of the kids on the island can go and watch movies. And they're
Yeah.
like, yeah, but we have them in all the hotels. I was like, yeah, but that's for all the people who go and stay there who are
Yeah.
on holiday. Like we need and they still don't have one.
Yeah.
And it's one of those where it's like I wished and I still hope that somebody would take a bunch of filmmakers who'll go over there.
yeah.
You could have a composer, you could have anything, and just go and teach the kids
And we
how
are.
to tell their stories, how to share it, how to be, part of this world, part of this sandbox that
Yeah.
we're creating right now.
No.
I've
I
shot in
agree.
Turks, and it's
And
hard.
It's tough.
'Cause
And they
there's no
charge you-
filmmakers.
yeah, it's
No,
tough.
it is,
Wow.
and I am working on programs like that for Haiti, and so I do have like some things right now like in the works.
Amazing,
and
man.
we are my sister also runs like a school after school program there
Over in Haiti?
in
That's
Haiti
amazing.
called Carl's Village, and basically we mentor like kids after school. A lot of them like their parents didn't even go to school, so they need like that extra tutoring and stuff like that. So teach them how to do math and all of that. And I'm trying to implement like a film program also, start to teach them how to
That's
do film.
phenomenal,
It's just
man.
been like logistically, it's been hard to like get things going right now. but like we are still like working on doing things like that. And I want to bring other
amazing.
filmmakers out there
Yeah.
so that the kids could see that too,
And
you
learn
know?
from 'em.
And,
Yeah.
and cross learning between the arts and science is so important. So
Yeah.
important. Like, there's so much math in filmmaking,
Yeah.
especially when you're working on that motion control.
Oh
You're
yeah.
like, okay, so if the y-axis is here, the x-axis, then when we want to do the shot, and then if you add the beats per minute to the song, but then you want to do it at 60 frames per second,
Yeah.
if you slow motion, or 120 frames per second,
Yeah.
and then you need to time it because the beats per minute doesn't align, but then the shot angle, you know, like, it can't. There's a lot of math you got to figure out.
there
It's
is math
fascinating
and
as
stuff.
well.
And it's good for the kids to learn those things in tandem because they're going to be more apt to want to learn math if
Right.
it's
It's got practical
has a practical
applications.
application
Yeah,
to
and
it.
like there's a lot of math. Like even like when things are in slow motion, you know, and in the editing room, I'm
Yep.
doing math, you know,
Yeah.
because like things are in slow motion, but yet I need this portion to be in normal speed.
At this
so
time
so yeah, so
code.
now I have to like take whatever the frame per second that they shot, divided by 24, times it by 100, and it tells me what percentage that should be speeding up this
Yeah.
clip to where
Yeah.
it goes back to normal and it syncs up with audio.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you come along and you do all the stuff about the motivation. You literally,
Oh, man.
because as a director, you're gonna have to motivate all these people to
Oh,
want to
yeah.
do that,
Yeah.
to do hard math.
Yeah.
Wes
Yep.
is the. Can I just brag for a minute?
Please, yeah.
Wes is the king of motivation.
Yeah.
The king of motivation, because we've all been talking about our beginnings. You know, like, well, when people were partying, we were doing this, but the word that we did not use is discipline. This man, I won't call out your age, is an older man who looks like he's 22 years old because he understands discipline.
Yeah.
You understand discipline. And I know it has a bad rep, this word, but discipline is the only way I got,
Yeah.
you know, out of Section 8 housing, out of, like, you know, the situation I was in. It was diligence, discipline, resilience. These are the themes that we keep bringing up, but we haven't essentially, like, called it out yet.
You're right.
Yeah.
So I just want to take a minute to just call it out
no.
No,
and
I'm
be
grateful to you
like,
for that. Yeah.
this is what makes filmmaking: teamwork and discipline.
Yeah.
Focus.
And you know, discipline is like it's when you don't want to do it
Yeah.
and
do
you
it
still
anyway.
do it anyway.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
as I said, like one of the things when I was researching your background, there was one thing, I think it was an interview that you'd done, Alan, and you said, you know, I was in a dark place, I was struggling, and then Wes phoned me up and he says, we're going to do this. And it almost, you know, reignited that passion that
Yeah.
you'd had when you were a kid to do this, to
Yeah.
do what we do. And that's what a director is.
Yes.
You know, they've got the vision, they've got the idea for what they want to shoot, or the, you know, but you've got to bring everybody on board to want to make
Yeah.
it as well, because you can't make it on your own, as we said at the very beginning.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really that's
Yeah.
inspiring.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, me
And listening to you,
Yeah.
you know you're gonna make it. You
Yeah.
know what
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, listening to what the way that you guys have got this sort of drive and this push. Yeah, you know, it's not something that you need to
It
convince
has
me
to
of.
happen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
You know?
I always give it up. Like Wes has like motivated me so much to do so many things. You know, he's always like pushing me, and like I like you know I've always appreciated that about him. Like that's why we're such great friends, and we love the same things. You know,
Yeah.
and he just like he really does know how to like get me going, get me
Inspire.
like inspired, and let's get this done, and you know, and
Sometimes it's annoying, but I gotta say, I have so much respect for your drive.
Thank
I'll
you.
be like, God, that's so annoying that he's pushing me. Like, I don't want to be pushed. I haven't had my coffee yet. But if he, like, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful he does these things. Like,
oh yeah.
you know, like I said, we don't always have comfortable conversations, and Wes is really good at pushing that conversation to the uncomfortable moments where you can get real and rich and talk about like what the fabric of the story is, what we need to do in order to get this done, how we continue to push things forward, and
Yeah.
definitely good energy.
I'm reminded of, I think it was Scorsese who said, make your own industry. Make, you know, like the movie brats, as I like to call them, they were like Coppola and Brian De Palma, they're all male, I apologize. Steven
fine.
Spielberg and Martin
love 'em.
Scorsese, they were the guys to bring it back to what we started on in the 80s, in the 90s. They were the ones that were saying, the industry needs rebooting.
Yes.
You know,
Yep.
there'd been this Paramount model where they'd owned all of the theaters and everything, and they'd only been putting their own stuff in there. And then eventually they said, no, we're going to allow independent cinema to have a showing. And these guys went, we're going to make it by any means necessary. And that was what they did. And that's exactly what I'm getting that vibe from you guys now.
No,
You know?
I always like compare that. People always when you said like what Issa said, to always network across and build with your friends, and people are always looking. I'm like, how do you think all these like Jurassic Park and Star Wars and everything like that came above? Like all those,
young Kathleen
like all,
Kennedy
and you,
took
yeah,
a
Kathleen
shot,
Kennedy, all those filmmakers that you admire. It's not random. They were all in the same barbecue together back then. They were all next to each other. It was Francis Coppola and Spielberg telling George Lucas like, write that script. You know, he's like, well, I got a little space opera I was thinking about, and it's like, well, no, man, you got to write it. You got to go ahead and do it. And then it was them pushing each other like one after the other, and then that's
Drive each other.
And that's how they got to where they were. And so I always took that lesson of like just that model of looking at them, and I'm like, that's what I want to do with my friends. You know, so.
I'd love to be able to keep this conversation going forever, but I think that we're reaching a point where I need to tie it all up. So I'll finish with this. What are all of your upcoming projects and your future aspirations for yourselves, and I suppose as a group as well? This group that's been together for, I don't know, what is it, 18 years, 16 years, something wild. So I'll come to you first, Wes. What's your future aspirations? What's your upcoming projects? Anything?
I'm in development right now. You
Great.
know, Vigilante the feature. I have a project set up in development over with Kevin Hart. I have 2 other shows and features that I'm writing right now. Just development, and then still pushing Vigilante. Doing the festival tour.
A lot of alone time then, I suppose, sitting down at your computer and motivating yourself to do it.
No, I'm a big collaborator, so like I'll collab with different writers to like get these things done, just because I don't have the time to do it by myself currently, so yeah.
And for me, like I've been working. I've been like editing a lot of different things. Just like recently this year, I've worked on All American as an assistant editor. I worked on another feature with. Which is coming soon. It's called The Undercard. That's with Wanda Sykes. I was an assistant editor with this. The editor was Libya Elaman. She's awesome. She's great. She edited the Malcolm X show.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So that was really a really good one. So I'm excited for people to see that one. It actually also stars Aaron Pierre. That was in Rebel Ridge. So yeah, I'm excited for people to see that. That's coming. I'm currently editing a feature myself where I'm the lead editor on that. I can't talk about it yet, but they will be announcing it pretty soon, and then I'll be able to talk about that. I have like 2 other short films that I've also cut. 2 more short films that are coming up in like October, November. So by the end of the year, I should have like.
You'll deserve a rest.
Yeah, 5 short films and 2 features.
Wow.
Like, that we can talk. But if everybody just follows me on the Instagram, is where I usually post what I'm on, what I'm working. Whenever the announcement is coming, like you'll know what I'm working on at the right time.
We'll get your handles at the end of this as well. Yeah. And Jamie, what's going on with you and Artifact and everything?
So I have 2 shows in development. Wow. One of them is a scripted drama. One of them is a reality show. Can I talk about it? I can't talk about them yet.
I don't know when this is going out either.
They're both space related. But yeah, 2 very different shows. Like I said, scripted drama, reality show. Those are currently in development with 2 separate studios. And then I'm been reading a lot of scripts. I'm looking for the next feature.
Amazing.
That I want to put my heart and investments into. And then Vigilante. I really want to see this become a feature.
Definitely. And it's going to be in some film festivals. I think it'd be wrong if we didn't
Like
share
6.
that. Which film festivals can it be seen at?
We just got accepted to the Bushwick Film Festival, the Orlando Film Festival, Micho Film Festival, the Oak Park Film Festival in Sacramento, and then also LA Comic Con.
Are you going to be there doing Q&As and stuff as
Yeah,
well?
yep.
Amazing, eh?
Yep.
Congratulations,
So,
guys.
you know,
on those.
I love being there. I love showing it in a theater. You
You
know,
might be in costume.
Who
knows? You know?
So that's just been great to like be able to have it at these festivals. You know, we did DreamCon this year. We did BlurredCon. We did the what was the
ABFF.
ABFF. We did that one in Florida. So we've just kind of been, you know, it's kind of like a little mini tour that's been going on.
We want everybody to see it. So we're definitely love the fact that all the festivals are, all, you know, we have some in Texas and California up north, some in Florida, some in New York.
Yeah.
Like we're
Yeah.
trying, we're really trying to spread it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Atlanta,
absolutely.
yeah,
So people everywhere can see it. That's a good
Yes.
idea. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would love
Hopefully
to
get
go
it to
in-
Haiti as well.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
You know, would love to go
That'd be awesome.
international. And it's crazy because, like, you know, like there's not a theaters in Haiti don't exist anymore. But like when I was growing up, they used to have theaters there. And like getting into filmmaking, like I was very like inspired by my grandfather also because we always loved watching movies together. And he would also he started like a whole theater there to like so people could watch like movies, and it was free. Like people would just go and watch all these movies. So me and him, we would make the selections of like, oh yeah, here's all the new movies, and that was our moments. You
I'm sure
know,
I'd be very proud of you for
yeah.
everything you're doing right now.
So-
Yeah, definitely. So do you want to drop the handles and then people can follow the film and everything like that? What are the
Yes.
handles that we got? Wes, you want to?
Guys, which camera am I at? I'm just gonna go to
Any
all
of them. You pick one.
I'm
We'll all
gonna
look
go
at
to these
different
two right
ones.
here. I feel like these two are on me. Guys, please follow at Vigilante the Film. Updates pretty much weekly. I was going heavy. I'm about to start going heavy again. So be prepared to get a lot of updates. You can follow me on social media at all social media platforms at What's Good, and join the broadcast channel because we have a lot of film tips and tricks and how you can up your filmmaking game right there.
Amazing.
Yeah, and you can find me on Instagram. It's Alain and the Cut, Alain _ and the Cut, ALAIN _ and the Cut. So yeah, that's where I'll be posting everything that I'm doing, all new articles, podcasts that I'm on, or anything like that. So just follow, and I'm gonna start showing little tips and tricks of like editing world too.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I'll follow that. And Jamie, I think we've already had yours, but yeah, feel free.
I am Jamee3, JAMEE3. That's me. And then you can also follow my production company, Artifact Content. I don't post very often, but when I do, I go hard.
It's time to start posting. I'm here to motivate them to post
Yeah.
more because you know
You have to teach
they-
them the ways.
yeah,
you know?
people ain't gonna know. You know, you have that heat unless you just put it out there. You know, it's not about
And then
it's not
Vigilante the
about a
film.
million people seeing it.
It's about the right person.
The right person.
It's about
you
the
know?
right person
That's a
seeing
direct
it.
quote from Wes.
And there we go. I'm here with this fantastic team. It's been so much fun. So thanks so much
Yes.
for joining me, guys. It's
Thanks
been a
for
real
having me.
pleasure chatting to you and learning about teamwork, collaboration, and everything that empowers filmmakers. Thanks very much,
Yes.
guys. Thanks
Thank
for joining
you.
me.
Thank you
you.
for having us.
Thank you.
And cut.